Europe once outpaced America in the race to design fighter jets. But in the 21st century, everything has completely changed. The Italians pioneered the introduction of fighters and developed the first Air Force doctrine. During the 1912 Italian-Turkish War, Italy used aircraft for the first time in combat. Until World War II, European aviation was ahead of the US, both in aerodynamic layout and aviation proficiency. The P-51 Mustang, the best American piston fighter in World War II, still had to use British Merlin engine. After World War II, the United States began to bring into play its economic and technological superiority. At that time, Europe could still occupy an important place in the aviation industry with the accumulation of technology in the past. For a long time after the end of World War II, Europeans still had a great deal of advantage in the development of modern fighters. The British Harrier is the world's first vertical takeoff and landing fighter. It demonstrated British innovation in fighter jets, with relatively good performance. This design, until today, has only been applied by the US on the F-35 fighter jet. Monsieur Dassault is the French aerospace capitalist, bringing many glory to the French aviation industry. The Mirage fighter family, with dazzling achievements in a number of Middle East wars. It had a dominant advantage over the Soviet MiG and was particularly popular in Arab countries. Mirage has written an important page in the warfare history of mankind. Sweden, a remote land of Northern Europe, also has an excellent track record in developing fighter jets, the machines with excellent performance. The widely used corner configuration ladder was first used by Sweden on Saab's J-37 fighter. In the civil aviation sector, Europe's Airbus is on par with America's Boeing. But in the fighter jet, however, there was an undeniable fact that Europe was lagging behind the US and the Soviet Union. In the 1950s, Sweden was officially put into service J-29 Ternent fighter. It was also Europe's first square-wing fighter. The J-29 was the same generation as the US F-86 Sabre and the Soviet MiG-15. But it was not until 1957 that France had its first jet fighter. In 1958, the second-generation supersonic fighter, the US F-104 and MiG-21 of the Soviet Union, entered service. Mach 2 speed became the strict criteria for rating this generation. And British English Electric Lightning and Swedish J-35 Draken were the answers. However, 2 decades later, while the Soviet Union and the United States continued to release new fighter models, the UK only had the Lightning model. Since then, the British could not develop fighters independently. in the competition of the third-generation supersonic fighters. France Dassault was the hope of all of Europe. Mirage 3 was the European answer to the famous American F-4 Phantom. They all entered the Air Force in 1961. Early in 1970, the Soviet MiG-23 entered service. By its efforts, Europe caught up with the United States in fighter development and overtook the Soviet Union. In 1980, Europe's first fourth-generation aircraft, the Tornado, entered service, and 3 years later, the French Mirage 2000 entered service. The same year, the MiG-29 entered the service of the Soviet Air Force. But by the fifth generation, the European race suddenly stopped. In 2005, the US fifth-generation F-22 fighter officially entered service. In 2010, the Russian fifth-generation T-50 fighter jet has its first flight, and then entered mass production with the official designation of the Su-57. However, there is no news yet about Europe's fifth-generation fighter. It seems that Europeans gave up on developing fifth-generation fighters. Of course, it is early a guess, and perhaps Europeans have their own choices. Currently, Europe's most modern fighter, such as the Typhoon and Rafale, are fourth generation. It is likely Europe will have a simpler option by US fifth generation F-35 fighter jets. But according to experts, Europe does not have enough effort and solidarity to develop fifth generation fighter. And it is true that Europe has lagged behind in the fighter field compared to America. My video about why does Europe lag behind the US in fighter jet design answer. Thank you for watching. If you find this video interesting, please give me your thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to support the channel. Goodbye and see you again in the next videos. Tạm biệt và hẹn gặp lại quý vị và các bạn trong các video tiếp theo.